How are you, bro?
I'm pretty good. You look good, Steve. Good to see you.
Thank you, man.
Your adventures, I follow you on Instagram and, everywhere. And, man, I just get jealous because I'm like, man, I want to be out there riding e-bikes, mountain biking. You're motocrossing. You're, of course, skateboarding all the time. You're doing artwork, craziness. And, of course, now with the, your new pop punk band, Urethane, how the heck do you do it all?
Well, I pretty much try to plan my day as much as I can and try to squeeze everything I can in. I mean, all that you mentioned, what I do, plus being a father and taking care of my kids half the time, I have to kind of squeeze all that in. And so it's a jumbling act for me every week, every day. But I try to make my priorities as best as I can and make sure that everything is getting taken care of what I need to do. And, sometimes I run into a problem where I say yes a lot to everything. And so I'll double book myself for things. But, man, with my cell phone and planning and all my calendar stuff, I try to squeeze as much as I can in with everything. And it seems to be working out, but it can get a little stressful sometimes.
Yeah, it can. That's insane.
But,
and
I do my best, and a lot of the activities that I'm into are dangerous, so I have to work around getting injured. I have to work around healing. The best thing that I do is when I'm injured, I get really into music and I get really into doing art, and that's when that stuff actually shines more, when I'm not able to skate or ride moto or mountain bike or anything.
That makes a lot of sense. By the way, thank you so much for taking the time to do the show. Great to see you again. Always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're busy yourself. I always see you guys playing your videos together and recording those with the band. Almost every post is you guys playing a new song together. And is that your house?
That's the studio here. We have a studio in Bremerton, Washington, and so it's like full on just audio and now broadcast studio. Now we've got capability to broadcast, with cameras and stuff. So it's our own little punk rock broadcast studio,
Oh, sick. I'm jealous because it looks like someone's house, and it's like, oh, you guys get to practice in your living room.
Yeah.
You go make some tacos or something right after.
Exactly. I mean, it is a house, and growing up, going to studios and recording in studios, there was always it wasn't usually a house, but there was always like a kitchen, a lounge. Yeah. And so when I went to, find a spot for the studio, I was like, why don't I just find a house? That way we can just convert the house, but we still have the kitchen. We don't have to like build a kitchen or a bathroom or anything. It's just those things are here and they exist. So that was my thought in building the studio in the house. And it feels good to practice in a living room. It's like what we always did, right? Garage or living room. For sure.
And I'm like thinking I look at my house, I'm like, what room could I use to do something like what Mike's got set up? Like, I'm not, and then I think like, oh, my neighbors would not be stoked on that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder if he's got neighbors. Like, how do they get away with that?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We lucked out because we're right on a fairly busy street. And so it's loud out there during the day. So if we're making noise during the day, nobody really hears it. And then at night, there's a bar, about, like one house away, like as if there are neighbors, and it's like out back. And so we open up the door and it's like super loud bar noise. So it's perfect for us because it never bleeds into the outside noise usually doesn't bleed into what we're doing. It might bleed in, like a car could, sirens could go by right now and you'd hear that. But but for the most part, we've never had an issue. So it's been great. It's been amazing. But where have you guys been rehearsing? So that makes a lot of sense. When you get injured, you start writing music, you start playing guitar, you start doing your artwork, and that's when you paint. That's when you get creative in those ways. I mean, we could go all over the place because you do so much. We definitely will talk about Urethane. I want to talk all about the new album that's coming out. It's called Chasing Horizons, and it's coming out September 24th. But I want to talk deeper into that. But I'm interested in this injury thing because I've actually been getting little injuries, no broken bones or anything. I better knock on some wood. And but you know, like sprained ankle. I sprained my ankle. I bruised my what is it? Your arch. I bruised my arch because I wasn't wearing like good skating shoes, and I did a kick flip. Landed on the edge of the board many times, and then you don't realize it until like you're done skating, and then you're like hobbling. You're like, why am I hobbling? I don't know. I didn't fall down, or I didn't do this or that. So like that's happening to me. But I'm gonna have to take that, because I've had to change up my workouts a little bit. I'm gonna have to call you now and again, and be like, okay, I got an injury. What do I do? But my shoulder's been bothering me. The shoulder doesn't heal as quickly as it used to, things like that. Luckily, nothing actually has affected my playing, my bass playing or guitar playing. So got that going. So anyway, injuries. What's do you have an injury right now? Are you good to go?
I'm just kind of healing up. Almost 2 years ago, I broke my femur.
Yes, I remember that.
I healed up. I was back on the bike.
How much pain was that, by the way, before we gloss over that? Your femur, that's a giant, that's your thigh muscle, your thigh leg bone.
Yeah, my left leg, my femur, biggest bone in your body. I broke that riding dirt bikes. I did a lot of PT. I healed through that. 4 months later, I was back on the bike. I started skating again. And then 11 months after I had broken my femur, I broke my right ankle. So I was just making progress of getting back into vert, and then I break my ankle. And
doing what?
Went to the hospital. They wanted to do surgery because they said it was a little bit kind of shifted to the side. I had a little bit of cartilage in my ankle, was making it not be able to properly bend all the way. I just never went back to the hospital. I let it heal on its own. It healed a little crooked to the side, so I had to relearn how to skate with my foot to the side a little bit. I just didn't want to go back into surgery. I just didn't want to go under the knife again and deal with, and especially with all the COVID stuff happening. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to stay out of the hospital.
And is it a painful recovery too when you get into surgeries like that? I've never really had a big surgery like that. No? Not really. I think it depends on the injury, but the femur wasn't, for some reason, because it was a spiral fracture. It wasn't a compound where it came out of my skin. Mm-hmm. It really didn't hurt. It was just sore a lot. That's crazy.
And I opted to stay off the pain pills because I know what happens with all those opiates. You can get hooked on them and stuff. So I just heard horror stories from a lot of athletes just getting, relying on them, and then all of a sudden you're a drug addict.
Yeah. It happens very easily. I mean, I had to put the kibosh on pills myself because I had some teeth work done, and I had some prescriptions, and I was like, this is too great. Like, I like this too much. It's just pain pills like Vicodin or some very, very basic stuff, but it's powerful, and you don't realize it because it happens very gradually. And
right. And I've seen it happen to a lot of athletes. So I just knew in the back of my mind, don't rely on the pain pills. Mm-hmm. So I pretty much got rid of them when I got out of the hospital. But like I said, so the injury of the femur, I started to heal, and then I went backwards again with the ankle. And then, so with those two injuries last 2 years, it really messed with my mind. And it really scared me to get hurt again. And so when I started skating vert and skating, I had to readjust my foot to make it feel right. And I was just really afraid to fall. So just up until, last weekend, I've been really, really timid when it comes to riding vert and bailing a lot and just not confident enough. And it's really showed me how scary skateboarding is and how dangerous it is. Even though I've been doing it my whole life, it really put things in perspective. And what it did is really taught me the power of the mind and how it controls you and how influenced you are, and the fear that comes into your mind that will either get you to commit to something or push you away from something. So I always tell everybody that when you're an athlete, about 95% is all mental. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you don't have it in here, you're never going to get to that next level. And it really, really put a damper on my skating because I was starting to get really afraid of it, more so than riding dirt bikes, because I'm back up to speed dirt bike riding. I'm up to speed riding mountain bikes. And those are the things that were destroying me, but I'm not afraid of those. But for some reason, I'm afraid of skating. You know,
that's interesting.
Which is interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder if I mean, a lot of things come to mind hearing you describe this, and part of it is just because when you're young, you're kind of dumb and you don't know to be afraid. Right now, you're smart. Right. You're smart. You know it hurts. It hurts to break
Smarter.
legs.
Smarter.
Okay, yeah, we could argue that. Yeah, it does. It hurts so, you know that it hurts. You're like, oh man. So like you almost can't, your brain is, or your body and your mind is like protecting you by giving you these thoughts, right? That's like a natural thing to be afraid once you've had these experiences, these big breaks, these big bails. I think that happens to a lot of extreme athletes, you know. Yeah. But maybe the motorbike thing, because you're newer at it, you're like a kid again. And therefore, even though you've experienced the breaks, you're like, all right, I'm good. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a lot of excitement for me. And, you know, like I said, your mind is very powerful. It'll make or break you. It'll cause you to, when you're in a fork in the road, which direction to go. And fear has a lot to do with where you're going to get in life. And so for me, I'm going to always argue I don't believe in natural talent at all. I believe that everything that we are skilled at, we have to work super hard for. And then some people will be like, well, I know two people who work the same, and one guy is a lot better than the other person, or one woman is a lot better than the other lady. And, you know, why is this one better? This one must be naturally talented. I go, no, it has a lot to do with fear. And one person has more courage than the other. And one person's willing to take more chances. And one person's willing to put their life on the line to succeed. That's the difference. It's not about being natural at anything. It's what's in your mind and what's going to keep you from saying, yes, I'm going to go for it, or no, I'm staying away from that. Mm. And that could be to the far extent of like asking a girl on a date, or a woman asking a man to go on a date. It's like you're stuck in this one spot. Like, do I ask or do I not? And that can change your whole future.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
The what ifs.
Your whole future.
Yeah.
It can go like, I'll never talk to this woman ever again, or I got married and got 5 kids with this woman because I made the step of like, I'm going to ask that girl out, you know?
Yeah. No, you're so right. That is such a huge unlock in life, is our fears really can dictate and control our lives in ways that, you know, sometimes are not very good and in other ways are great. You know, there's fears for a reason, but now that we don't have necessarily, you know, lions at our door or wolves at the door where there's a healthy fear for a reason. And, you know, but now we're just kind of like playing, whether or not we're playing video games or we're going out and skateboarding, as long as you're paying attention, you're going to be fine. Usually in America, we have that sort of luxury, right? You don't have to worry about things are changing,
well,
but
unless you're watching the news,
don't watch the news.
All on fear.
Yeah, exactly. But
you know?
I just mean like my own experience here in Bremerton. If I walk down the street during the day, I'm pretty confident I'm going to be okay. You know, there's your occasional bad things that can happen, but yeah, I mean, so we don't have that. We don't have to look over our shoulder constantly in society. And so I think the fears, we still have that in us. And so the fear of death is like public speaking and doing things like that. Like people fear that almost more than actual death. So I'm like, I'd rather like skydive than talk to a group of 10 people. You know, like what?
Yeah.
All right. But everybody's a little different. But for you, were you I mean, you obviously were somewhat of a daredevil as a kid being a skateboarder, but I was a skateboarder as a kid, and I don't know if I was a daredevil. I was kind of scared of getting hurt. I remember being at the skate park. I think we talked about this last time you were on the podcast, where I was trying to do the transfer over the spine. Yeah. It was a it was like a half spine. It wasn't like a super tall one, but still for me, it was really scary. Mm-hmm. And so feeling what it feels like to bail, to like almost get it, and then it's almost scarier to land sometimes, you know, like that feeling you get when you land. Maybe people get addicted to that, but It's amazing. But the fear that I felt like that was a pretty healthy amount of fear, because you could really get hurt skateboarding. But then there's plenty of other things in life that seem somewhat irrational.
Well, it's definitely how you approach it. You know, you definitely have to be wise when you're approaching anything that has the ability to hurt you. You know, so taking precautions, practicing, making sure you're making the right decisions. Timing. It's all about the choices that you make. And some people make bad choices, and some people make better choices than other people. And that's why, like I said, I don't believe in natural talent. I believe in making good choices and grasping opportunities, being wise enough to see these opportunities when they present themselves in front of you. And I have a pretty good record of grasping opportunities what I see in front of me, and the band Urethane is one of them, you know. And I talk about all the stuff that's been happening with the band so recently. It's all a lot of choices that not only that I made, but like our singer made, to reach out to me to say, hey, I heard you're looking for a singer for your other band. I want to try out. I mean, if he would have never reached out and had the courage to even like make the effort to write me an email, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about Urethane coming out with a new record next month, you know? But it was a choice that he made in his heart. He followed it. I answered the email. I listened to it. And I had to make a choice, you know, because when we were trying to search for singers, and I presented Tim to the band that I was playing with for a whole year. I was in another band for a whole year, just practicing in a garage and writing songs. We had about 10 songs, no singer.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, we really need to find a singer. You know, let's start trying to play out. Let's do some stuff. So when I got that email from Tim and I listened to his demo, I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy's a good singer. He writes good songs. I presented to them. And they were like, no dice. I'm like, what do you mean no dice?
What are you looking for?
Yeah, he's too soft. I'm like, too soft? Like, what does that mean? Like, he's not going to fit with our music. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay. I guess we're not on the same page, you know?
Yeah.
And so I had to that was a fork in the road. That was a choice. I had this relationship with these other two guys for a whole year. And I just met this guy and I was like, which way do I go? And my heart went with Tim. And I said bye to a year's worth of work. I made that choice to go with Tim. And I'm so glad I did, because it's just all snowballed into what's happening today. And that's the fork in the road that I made that choice, you know, and I grasped it. And I'm so happy I did, you know. Yeah,
that's amazing. Good things happen when people just take chances.
Took a chance, man, and I'm so happy I did, because Tim's an amazing friend. He's a great songwriter. He's really easy to work with. You know, very humble. And I'm excited for these guys. You know, I'm excited for you know, our bass player Chad, our drummer Dylan, to do really fun things and really amazing things with the band. You know, I have a lot of connections through the music industry, from just on the Warped Tour, meeting you with MXPX and Millencolin, Pennywise, NoFX, you know, Strung Out, all these bands, and just friends that I've made over the years with musicians, and to leave the Warped Tour after all these years and still be in contact with these guys. You know, I ride dirt bikes with Jordan, the old drummer for Strung Out, all the time. You know, I'm still friends with Jim from Pennywise. We do art shows together. You know, Toby from H2O, he comes and skates my ramp. You know, we hang out. I'm supposed to go on his podcast pretty soon as well.
Awesome.
And he actually does a guest vocal on our new album.
I want to go skate your ramp, by the way.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Hey, we're actually shooting a music video here Sunday.
I'll be down. Yeah. I wish.
It's actually on the song that Toby appears on, because Toby loves my ramp. And I said, dude, let's shoot the video at my house, barbecue, you know, skate party, swim party, skating, the band, you can start singing in it and skating as well. Let's do this. So that's happening this Sunday.
That's going to be epic. Yeah. It's a cool song too. Avalanche is the song. And
yes.
And then you had Jim on another song, Inheritance. Yeah. Cool stuff. And your new single that's out right now, people can check it out right now. Gravity. There's a video for it. Cool song. And just to reiterate, the album comes out in full on September 24th on Cybertrax.
Yeah, last week we just released our second single.
Oh, did you? Okay.
It's Wyoming.
Oh yeah, good song. Yeah, I would listen to that as well. That sounds great.
Thank you. That's the title track of the album, and we actually have a video on the back burner waiting to get released. And I'm just learning this whole thing about releasing videos, releasing singles, and how we have to wait for publication to have them push it. And I'm like,
what's the thought?
Social media.
What's the thought behind that?
I don't understand. I'm like, I got social media. I can just put our video out and people are going to see it. I don't understand, but I'm not part of that music industry. I don't know that part. I haven't been, that on that level of touring and publicists and tour managers. And I haven't been on that level yet, so I'm excited to participate in that, but I just don't know how all that works,
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't expect you to. I barely know how it all works. I kind of, you learn a little bit as you go. You learn more and more as you go, and you add that to your base of knowledge, of course. Yeah. But then things change too. So
we have social media now. I mean,
we
didn't have social media back then.
Yeah,
you had to wait for the publications. You had to wait for the websites and magazines to help push your single, your video. I got so many followers. I can just put our video out, and people are going to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to explain that to our publicist. It's like, dude, I got a lot of followers.
But if if you say that to the publicist and they agree with you, then what are they there for? And they're like, wait, no, I need a job.
well, do your part. Try to get our and I understand he's got to send it to one magazine. They say no. Okay, send it to another magazine. They say no. I mean, how many magazines are you going to send it to till you finally want to put it out yourself?
I think that's what you should do. You send it to a few that you want, and then after that, if they're not into it, then you have to go with plan B, which is let's do it ourselves. Do you have a website, by the way, for the band?
We do. Cybertrax, who we're on with, they have a website as well.
Okay.
So we're we're kind of kicking Cybertrax back off. Cybertrax is a label that's headed by El Jefe from NoFX and Jen.
Yep. And Jen, yep.
And so they work together as far as and they had put that record label on hold for a while until they heard our demo and was really excited to release this record. So I think the hype and the energy and excitement is coming back to the label and getting Cybertrax back on the map again as far as a record label that's pushing a new upcoming band. So, and we're trying to just work with each other to help make that happen. And like I said, I have a huge platform that can help with that, so please utilize my platform as much as possible,
Yeah, for sure they're going to want to do that. And that's what all record labels, major labels, they don't sign an act unless they've got like a really strong social media presence, good, whatever numbers, touring numbers. It's all about the numbers these days, So
For sure.
It's weird because as artists, we're not really thinking that. We're thinking a little bit more just like about our own thing. But record labels these days really have a lot of advantage over things versus I think 20 years ago. Because of streaming. Streaming is making record labels a lot of money, a lot more money than it's actually making the artists. So, they should definitely use your platform, bend over backward to do whatever they can for you guys. Because if they have your record under their belt, for 20 years, that's going to make money for 20 years. Now, it's not necessarily all about making money on streaming and stuff. The major labels are doing that. I think most of the labels that are into punk rock are into it because they love punk rock and they love music.
Right.
There's a lot easier ways to make money than music these days.
Yeah.
And so people that do go into music are usually in it because they love music. That's what I found. I mean, that's probably a little bit naive. Like I said, major labels, totally different thing. But
for sure.
Yeah. That's good to be part of, you know, people that have been in punk rock for a long time. El Jefe, obviously, and Jen, you know, they love, and they know so many people, just like you. So Cybertrax and Urethane, did they find you, or did you go to them to get signed?
Well, this is what happened. So 4 months with playing with Urethane, I was playing bass, Dylan on drums, Tim singing and playing guitar. 4 months into it, I just had this wild hair. It's like, Tim, I really want to play guitar. Like, I feel the band will fill in. I love the power of what a guitar sounds like. I feel like I could be more creative and add like melody hooks and stuff. I go, we need to find a bass player because I really want to play guitar again. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're asking me this, because my friend Chad, who sings for Skipjack, has been asking me to be in this band for months. And now you're asking me that we need a bass player. Well, Chad plays bass. I'm like, well, he's your buddy, you know, he's in. And so we got together, we practiced one time and went really well. It sounded insane. And I think the next day, because Chad has a lot of connections through the punk rock scene, because he's been in Skipjack for a lot of years in San Diego, and he knows a lot of the artists and a lot of people. And so I guess he made a phone call to Jen or to El Jefe and say, hey, I want to show you this new project I'm part of. Steve Caballero's in it, and here's a demo tape. And it's the exact same demo tape that Tim sent me. He showed to Jen and El Jefe, and they loved it. So getting Chad in the band, he actually got us a record deal.
Wow. Chad, what's up? Shout out to Chad. So bass players are good for something every now and again.
No, I mean, Chad's a go-getter. I mean, he really is enthused. He doesn't mess around. He's a go-getter, and he makes stuff happen. And I feel like everybody in the band is doing their part to make things happen. Mm-hmm. Like, we have a booking guy that's been booking us, but we have all booked our own shows as well. Mm-hmm. I've gotten my own shows. Our drummer has gotten shows. Chad's gotten shows. Tim has gotten shows with our booking agent. So a lot's been happening because of all our connections, and we're just all working together, you know, and everyone's talented in their own way, and everyone is doing their part. There's not one guy in the band just sitting back going, you take care of that. You know, everyone is putting their foot forward and making it happen. That's why things are happening so quick for us, where we've only played our second show last weekend at Born Free.
Wow. How was it?
It was great. It was outdoors. It was a picnic. So you know how that goes.
Yeah. Good.
But you know, the first show that we actually played was at Big Bear with, who was it? We played with, what's that? Guttermouth.
Okay. I was going to say Guttermouth for some reason. I think I saw a flyer.
It was a 2-night thing. We played the first night. And we're playing with Agent Orange next Saturday. So we have like a show every weekend leading up to Punk Rock Bowling. We're playing Beach Life Festival in Redondo Beach, where we're going to actually play an acoustic set. Jim from Pennywise has access to a stage called the Speakeasy Stage, where he's got Jason DeVore playing acoustically, Jason from Strung Out playing acoustically, Jim playing acoustically, you know, and Urethane.
What's the date on that? What's the date?
That is, I want to say September 11th.
Okay, cool. That'll be probably the weekend. This comes out like September 5th. I don't know, whatever the first Monday of September. I don't know. this Monday it comes out. It's very soon. so people can catch it.
Pretty much how we got our record deal was getting Chad in the band. He brought that to the attention of El Jefe and Jen, and they were excited about it. And you know, they basically said, "Hey, we want you to come to the studio. Are you guys ready?" And you know, Tim had all these songs. We haven't even practiced them yet.
Yeah.
But you have enough for a full length. And we're like, yeah, we do.
Sure.
But really, we
haven't played them
like
yet.
6 songs. So, we found a producer, which his name was Cameron Webb. I never even heard of him, but I heard of the albums that he produced.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
That's how out of tune I am with music and producers, and I've never been on that level.
Sure.
Where I've been in a band like with the Faction, we produced our own records. With Odd Man Out, we produced our own records. With Shovelhead, Soda, all those bands, we did it ourselves. We never hired a producer to actually produce a record for us. So when Jen told us we're going to hire a producer, and I'm like, hire a producer for what? Well, he's going to record and produce your record, and you're going to pay him how much money to produce a record? I'm like, whoa, wow. Is he like another member in the band? Like that's crazy. Like, but then after going through the whole process of working with Cameron, I can see his value.
Yeah.
And I can see what he's done and what he did with Urethane. Us going into the studio, coming out was a completely different band. Completely different band.
That's interesting. That is the value of a producer. It's supposed to make you a better band, for one.
He did. In 3 weeks, we were a completely different band. And I'd never gone into the studio for 3 weeks.
Yeah. So what was
the whole punk rock thing? It was like 2 days in, one day mixing, you're done.
Yep. And you're like, it's pretty good. But yeah, I would have fixed that, but it's fine. Yeah, I feel that. But what was the workflow like with Cameron? By the way, for those wondering, he's worked with Motorhead, Megadeth, a lot of punk bands, Pennywise for sure.
Yeah. Effects, Strung Out,
I think Face to Face even probably.
Social Distortion.
Yeah, he's done a lot. So that's a great guy to be in the room with. What was his vibe? What was he very hands-on? Was he like just go and was it easy, or was it like do it over like a million times? Like, take us through it a little bit.
Well, I never worked with a producer before, and I felt like this guy was going to be some guy that has done a lot of amazing projects. He's going to be very like confident, very like cocky, very like I'm the dude,
Mm-hmm.
But he turned out to be the opposite. Very passionate, very calm and kind and funny, and we became friendly like very fast, very trustworthy. But he did work us. I mean, he did notice things that we did not notice. Like there not once have ever been in a studio where I'd play the part and he'd be like, "Oh, you got to do that part over." And I'm like, "Why? I just did it perfectly." He's like, "No, you bent the note." I'm like, "What? You just barely bent the note. I could hear it." I'm like, "No way." He's like, "Yep, you bent the note. Do it again." And then so I'd play again. He's all, "That was good, but I know you can do it better." And I'm like, "Dude, are you serious?" He's like, "No. I want you to feel it. I want you to. The timing's off." I'm like, he's like, "You want to do it the punk rock way, or do you want to do it the Cameron way?" Like, are you happy with it? You like that? I'm like, "What do you think, Cameron?" He's like, "You can do it over." And I'm like, "Okay." So I noticed that when he was tracking the drums, and we were there watching tracking the drums, and he's making Dylan do it over and over again. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I can't wait till he gets to me. He's gonna work me." So it makes you kind of a little bit nervous, like going in, like I better play this perfect, or I'm going to get the Cameron, like, do it again.
Exactly. Traditionally, drums are like the hardest thing because it's the first thing you do, and you kind of like you got to get it right. But everything else, you can like, okay, let's go back and play it again. Yeah. But I remember, we worked with Steve Kravac early on, and that kicked our asses so much. Same deal as with you guys and Cameron. It was like maybe 3 weeks or something like that, but we were a whole different band. It was Life in General, and I just remember him like I would hit like a note, ding, be like, no, do that again, like just same the exact thing. And I'm like, what? I thought it was perfect, but like he would listen to the exact way you plucked the note, and if it was like plucked different than the way you did it the first time through the verse or whatever. You got to get it consistency. So really learn to play very even-handed, almost too much sometimes. Like sometimes you just want to like go balls out. But yeah, that producers and getting in the studio, it's a whole new world when you haven't had that experience, but it really, really improves everything. I mean, sometimes you can go too far. Like you can take the life out of your music by making it too perfect. So a producer's job is to also pay attention to that, to like not go, I mean, there is such a thing as too perfect if it has no feeling to it. I don't know. That's my opinion, but that's maybe punk rock. I mean, if you're talking about like electronic music, maybe that's still a thing. I don't know. But when you're playing a keyboard, you've still got dynamics usually on a keyboard. You've got, you know, if you hit it really hard, it'll be loud. If you hit it soft, it'll be quiet, depending on the type of keyboard you have. But that just shows that there's dynamics in all types of music, not just punk rock. But yeah, I think we all, even though MXPX produces our own stuff nowadays, we still have a producer. We go to my business manager, Tom, and we discuss songs from an outside perspective, because I think that's kind of important, is getting that outside listen, you know, that outside view.
Well, I mean, you have the experience. I mean, you've been putting records out for how long? I mean, what was your first album?
It was 1994 was our first album.
And how many albums have you produced since then?
Yeah, so like 10 studio albums plus, you know, 6 EPs. So
I'm sure you've like learned a lot through producers what to look for and what not to look for.
Yeah,
you know, they probably taught you a lot of things that, hey, I can handle this myself now. You know, I know what sells, what works by experience. You know, this is a first experience for us. So like working with Cameron, I didn't know what type of person he was. I didn't know if he even liked our music. You know, I didn't know, but I could tell like he liked our songs. He was passionate about how they sounded, and that made it more comfortable. That made it feel like it was more family, more like he was into the project and he wanted to see the best product that we could produce. And so when he got to singing, oh man, that was brutal.
That's hard. That's hard.
Sing it again.
Yeah.
Do it again. You're too high. You're too soft. Like, you know, it's like you're sharp, you know, it's like, it was brutal. But
you got better, right?
It got better. It made me a better singer. Mm-hmm. I sang more on the record than I even thought I would ever, you know, because I just tried stuff and he allowed me to try stuff. Mm-hmm. And let's keep that. I'm like, really? You like that? Like, I was very like insecure because I didn't sing that much in the Faction, you know, but for some reason, I guess the guys liked the way I harmonized with Tim. So I was able to present a little bit more in that sense of singing. And I've always been my worst critic as far as what my voice sounds like, and I know what I like. You know, I know what I wish my voice sounded like, but it just, you know, sometimes you got to come to the realization you just don't sound like that. You know.
Well,
but
in the future they'll have. Well, go ahead.
He just did a really good job of bringing the best out of myself and how I could add to the band. And so when I came into the studio, we learned 12 songs in 3 months. And even he came like about a month before we went to the studio, and he came to one of our practices. He's like, you guys aren't ready. A month before we're supposed to go in. You guys aren't ready. And I'm like, darn, that puts a lot of pressure, you know? So we had to keep working hard. And so I came into the studio with these rhythm tracks because I was rhythm guitar player, and we busted out learning these songs. These are some of Chad's, some of Tim's, or mostly Tim's. But then when we were recording, I would sit in the back of this couch with an acoustic guitar, and I would hear the songs, and I'd just start playing these melody leads on my acoustic. I'm like, wow, this actually is going to sound good when I'm up to play, and I'm not going to just keep playing the rhythm. I'm going to play something completely different. And so we recorded these things on the whim. So when you hear this album, all the melody leads and things, I wrote those in the studio. These weren't even going into the studio. Okay. I wrote that stuff in those 3 weeks. All the leads and all the melody things, I just kept adding to the songs, to the point when we were done recording, we went to practice. I went back to playing the rhythm stuff again because I don't even remember what I played.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna have to go figure it out.
Cameron, can you make me a tape with no vocals and just the rhythm stuff so I can actually try to remember what I played in the studio? That's how we wrote that record.
That's funny. That is funny. That's great, though. What a great story. I mean, being a producer is kind of like being a elementary school teacher or something. You know, you have to like figure out how to get these kids to play together and learn things and do it right without making them cry. You know, it's like very psychological. So when you're in there and he's do it again, you're feeling like inadequate in some ways, but at the same time, he's got to break you down just enough to where you'll do it, and you're like, okay, and you go through something to get it to make it on that tape the way it needs to sound or whatever it is. But then once you do it, you feel so much better and you're lifted back up. So I feel like recording a record is a lot of things, if not a roller coaster of emotions. You know, there's great parts, there's parts where you're feeling low because you can't get the right backup vocal notes or lead guitar part or whatever it is, whoever's playing, right? It's all those things. So yeah, I mean, to really make a record with a band, there has to be somebody sort of at the helm, kind of like being like, do this, do this, do this. I personally don't like producing my own band because I don't like bossing the other guys around. We've been together too long. You know?
See, we ran into that, and I had that discussion with Cameron even before we went in the studio. I'm like, you know what? I barely know these guys, right. And I know what I like. But I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Like, hey, here's Steve Caballero, the professional skateboarder that they look up to as a kid, coming in and trying to lay down the law. Like, I think it should be like this. But Cameron gave me a little bit of encouragement. He's like, Cab, like, I want to hear your influence in the band. I don't want it just to be Tim's songs and what he made. He's all, you need to add your 2 cents. Like, this band has to be a part of you. And I know you know what you like, so you need to step up and say, like, hey, I don't like that drum part. Or, hey, I think the rhythm should only go like this. Hey, take out that pre-chorus. He's all, I want to hear your influence. So I go, Cameron, can you tell those guys that in a nice way?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy to say that because I don't want, like I said, I want to come across as the boss, Mr. Boss dude.
Yeah.
So, and you know how it is. It's a very touchy thing unless you're, you know, James Hetfield of Metallica and you make all the rules and you just tell everybody what to do.
Right.
You know, when I saw some kind of monster documentary, I'm like, whoa, that's heavy. Like, that put a lot of things in perspective of, like, every band goes through, like, no matter how famous, how rich you are, you go through the same heartaches, the same pressures, the same drama as a normal band just starting out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and to see Metallica go through all that they had to hire a psychiatrist to keep the band together, that's heavy. That's like, wow, these guys are real dudes.
Yeah, and this is a big thing where they're like, we got to fix this, guys. We got to go to marriage counseling, you know? Like, there's too much at stake, you know? I mean, imagine if Metallica broke up. You know, it just doesn't seem right. That's not right.
Yeah.
You know, they need to go into oblivion, but, you know, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, our bass player, Chad, has recorded some bands before because he's an engineer as well. And he said, I recorded a band once, and the band broke up while I was recording them.
High stress environment, right? That's amazing.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard that, but I was like, whoa, that's crazy. It's like a band broke up while you were recording. Yeah, the guy just quit, left the band. Like, they broke up. They're like, we're done.
Yeah, I haven't really heard of it, but I believe it. I believe it. Jerry Finn, when we were recording with him, he told us a story about producing Morrissey's record. He produced a couple of his latest records before he passed, before Jerry passed. I think Morrissey's still around. Anyway, the whole story is Morrissey comes up and he's like, they're talking about the drummer. Jerry and Morrissey are talking about the drummer, and he's just not quite cracking it, you know, not quite going to cut it. And so Morrissey's, yeah, I think we should get rid of him. Let's cut him loose. I'm gonna go out to dinner, and when I just fire him while I'm gone, and I'll come back.
Wow.
And so Jerry's like, what? I have to fire this guy that's like the nicest guy ever. He's like a super nice guy. He's been with the band for years, like 4 or 5 years touring. And so he did it. He let him go, and he was nice about it, of course. But it's just like such a the whole and before Morrissey left, the punchline is, yeah, producing's a very lonely job. And then he's like, see you later. But it is, because sometimes you gotta do that. Not often, but that's pretty heavy. Fire the drummer.
It'll make your band better.
Yes, a lot of times. Yeah, that's why that's why they always say, if you're a good drummer, you're never going to be without work. Because I'm sure whoever that drummer was for Morrissey got plenty of gigs if he needed. Yeah. But always a learning experience, being in the studio, recording, doing something hard. But I feel like making a record it's similar to like making a diamond. Maybe not quite as precious and as hard as making a diamond, but it's similar because you put pressure on yourself, on your bandmates, anybody that's working on the record. You put pressure and you make it happen. And kind of even though you've been working on the songs for a long time, when you go to record, it's a small amount of time and you just get it done, usually, traditionally. And I feel like when you get through that process, you feel like you've really done something. And so like every record we've ever made, I've got a lot of memories from that.
Yeah. Well, we have great memories from making this record. It was the first time I actually put so much work into music where it felt like it was a 9-to-5 job. It was like, Groundhog Day. I'd meet Tim and Chad, our bass player, in Carlsbad at Park and Ride. At 7 in, drive to the studio by 8, stay there till 6, drive back, go to bed, wake up the next day. And I was so tired every day that I was like, oh my goodness, now I know what it feels like to have a real job, like where you clock in. I was like, whoa, I want to get home. I just want to go to bed and then wake up early and do it all over again. But it was such a great experience working with Cameron that if we ever do make another record, I definitely want to work with him again. And I know our next record will be even better because I will know these guys. I know how they work. Like I said, I barely know these guys a year. It's going to be a whole year when the record comes out that we're a band.
That's insane.
So we are still learning stuff about ourselves and how we work with and how I talk to these guys. And, sometimes I kind of have to tiptoe about my opinions and frustrations, because I love these dudes. We work well together, and I just want to keep this relationship going. And
I think communication, honestly, is communication helps so much, because if you let these little things linger and then build resentments, like it could happen over nothing, honestly. And you'd be like, what? I had no idea that you thought that way. Yeah. You said this and this. Be like, but if you feel like I might have said something weird. Yeah. And if you say something, then it usually makes things so much better. Just acknowledgement of things. I mean, without getting into specifics, of course, but I think it kind of works across the board with any group of people. But you're trying to do something that's so collaborative and so emotional, I guess I'm trying to think of the right word. I guess emotional kind of is, because you have a lot of your emotions and feelings put into music. Yeah. And hopes and dreams, like you're talking about chasing horizons, Yeah,
I'm a very opinionated person. I know what I like. I just hope that they trust a lot of the judgments that I make. It's for the band. I want to see this band be successful. Everything that I put my heart and soul in, it's to be successful. So I try my best to make good choices, and any choices that I make for the band is for the band. It's not just for myself, for the better benefit of the band. And I feel like if everybody in the band trusts each other that we're going to get along and we're going to go places with this band, you know. But you know, I would have to admit that I'm very opinionated and I know what I like, you know.
Yeah, but you're also very humble too. Just
well,
to admit
I said,
that.
I quit this band that I was in for a year because I know I love Tim's voice and I know what I like, and I went with Tim, you know, and I used that judgment, and like I said, I felt like I made the right choice, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe the guys in the band that I was working with maybe didn't think like, hey, you're making a bad choice, you know, but I don't know where their thoughts are, but I felt like, you know, this is a sure thing with him because I love his voice. He's a great songwriter. And he let me come in and rearrange his songs.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what it should
another
be.
Thing I had to get over. It's like, I had to tell Tim, you know, like, I've never been in a band where a guy writes a lot of pre-choruses, you know. I don't know if you write a lot of pre-choruses, but I'm a simple punk rock, like intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. And then when I met Tim, it's like, he's like, well, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, pre-chorus. And I'm like, whoa, like, what's a pre-chorus? You know?
Yeah.
You know? So, and it's like, so there was times where I was like, I'd listen to these songs, I'd be like, so what part is the chorus? Like, where's the catchy part? Is it the pre-chorus or the chorus? Like, so why do we need the pre-chorus? So there was a couple songs that I'd have to come in and go like, I think we should just X-nay the pre-chorus and just go right in, you know, or we should make the pre-chorus the chorus, you know? So I felt weird taking someone else's song that he wrote and trying to mix them around and rewrite them.
Yeah.
You know? But he allowed me to do that sometimes.
Okay, good. Sometimes.
You know?
Well, can I tell you from a songwriter that I write all my own songs, but they get rearranged quite a bit when we go into the band. Suggestions from Tom on the producing angle, and a lot of times I'll rewrite a full chorus. Like, this chorus doesn't fit. I really like this verse, but this chorus doesn't hit right or something, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll do that myself. I mean, so I'll do what you do. It would be as if Tim was doing that to himself, right? So like, I'll do that myself. But it's taken me a lot of years to get there, I think. And there are every now and then I'm like, no, it's got to sound like this. But really, if I wasn't me, would it have to sound like that? No, it could sound however is best, period. But as a songwriter, you get hooked onto these little bits. You're like, I really like that part. That's the part that everybody's going to like. And then if somebody else comes and be like, we don't really need that part. You're like, what? I thought that was the, what? But it's a give and take and a trust thing. But yeah.
How about this? How about if Yuri comes up with this rad drum part? Dude, this is so rad. And you're just like, I don't like it, Yuri. You have to say that?
All the time. I do. Yes. I mean.
All right, here.
I'll usually just tell him to do.
Have you hear that?
Yeah.
Like him now when I don't like your drum part.
This is what I say. Usually I'll be like, I want the best drum part for the song and for the part that the drum part is on. And so if we're trying to build dynamics, we might need a really crazy drum tom thing, but then it needs to open up after that and have really sparse drums. Even though you had a really good idea for that part, because we just went crazy right before that, we need to do something else, I feel like, I mean, my opinion, right? So like that's usually the kind of scenario that'll come up when the drums are too much is we're trying to do some dynamics, we're trying to open it up, that kind of thing. But either way, Yuri is like, he's so like easy to work with. Like he'll just be like, whatever, you know. If anything, I always tell him like, do the Elvis Costello thing, which is for everybody to know. We covered this song No Action back in the day, long time ago, and it's almost all a drum part, like a drum fill, like the whole time. And so whenever we're like, oh, do a drum fill like for this whole part, just be like, do the Elvis Costello thing. And so that's no more. But yeah, it's fun.
Well, we have an amazing drummer. Dylan is amazing. And
does he play in another?
I love playing with him.
Playing bomb pops as well.
With bands. What's that?
Does he play in bomb pops?
Yeah, Dylan started playing the Bomb Pops a long time ago.
Oh, but he doesn't play with them anymore, right?
He doesn't play in them
Okay,
no more.
okay.
In the early stages, I think he was in that band, and then he's played with a couple other local San Diego bands. But he was available at the time when we were looking for a drummer. Tim had found him and was introduced to Dylan, and our first practice together. I'm like, this guy's really good. He's not one of those drummers where I'm going to have to like turn around and go like, have you ever had a drummer you're like, yeah.
We've had a couple. I mean, yeah.
And I know
MXPX,
I know drummers hate that when their guitarist or bass player look back and go like, dude, I know I made a mistake. You don't got to like tell everybody.
It is the hardest to be the drummer, to be honest, playing live, because you can't mess up. Everybody hears it. On bass, even if I mess up, I can play as if, I meant to do that little fill.
No, but he's great, and he brings it, and he brought it on this record. And there had been times where it's like, we have to say like, maybe you should just tone it down a little bit. I mean, you got a lot going on here. It could be a little bit more simpler. And I know Dylan knows how to work with me, where it's like when I feel like I tell him, well, I don't really like that part. He's like, well, I'm still feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of working on it. I'm still, it's not set in stone. I'm like, okay, I know. But I feel bad sometimes where I'm like, can you like play it like this? I think it would sound better not fast. Keep that tempo going.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of halftime stuff and then it goes fast. So, like I said, we're a new band. We're still trying to learn how to work with each other. We've accomplished a lot in this last year. It's amazing the album that we produced in such a short time, and I feel that we were able to do this because we're all experienced musicians. To the fact that we could get into the studio in a crazy situation that was rushed, that we could produce something that was well produced. And working with Cameron, he was the glue to help put that all together. And so I'm excited for this project, for what's coming out, for our new video that's coming out. Wyoming is coming out pretty soon. I made a friend on Instagram from Spain that produced this video for us. It's an animation, and it's really cool. It's amazing what this guy did in such a short time to animate this video for Wyoming. It's really cool.
Amazing. I can't wait to see it.
All from photographs and a little toy that I had. I showed him a little toy, and him and his team put this video together for us, which took hours and hours. I don't know if you know about 3D animation and everything.
Yeah, stop motion.
But it takes a lot of work.
That's insane.
And this guy, to do like a 15-second, 30-second thing, but he did a 3.5-minute song. It's incredible.
Hundreds of hours, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't wait to show it.
Awesome. Can't wait to see it. Well, let's wrap it up. Is there, I mean, that's obviously what people should check out. What's the social media for the band, Urethane? By the way, is Urethane named after the material used for skateboarding wheels?
Exactly.
Amazing.
And that was another thing. Like so the other band that I had, we didn't have a name. So we tried for the longest time to think of a name. And every time I think of a name, I'd look it up and there'd be 4 or 5 other bands that already used it years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we going to have to like make up a word? Because every band name has been used, right?
Right.
And I even said, hey, what about Urethane? Because I had this like solo project I wanted to do a long time ago. And I had that on the back burner and they're like, nah, let's think of something else. Right. I'm like, okay, whatever. So when I got together with Tim and Dylan, we were thinking about, let's think of a name. I go, what about Urethane? And Tim was like, I love it. I'm like, cool, that easy? Like, wow. Okay. So we looked it up. Sure enough, no one has used Urethane.
Urethane. So it's just Urethane? Or is it Urethane Band or on socials?
On social, because urethane is a substance and material that you use. Yeah. I think it's already been, taken. So we had to use Urethane Music.
That makes sense, yeah.
And we had to use that for the website too, Urethane Music. But Urethane is based off the skateboard wheel that was invented in 1973. So 1960s, skateboard wheels were made out of either metal, clay, plastic, or rubber. Throughout the 60s, that's what skateboards were made out of. And it wasn't until 1973 that someone took urethane, the actual substance, and poured a wheel and found out that it was grip, it was fast, you could use it on the street. And then so the Cadillac wheel was invented, and it was made out of urethane. So from 73 to now, all skateboard wheels are made out of urethane, but different hardnesses, different durometers of urethane and different, substances. So I've been skating, urethane wheels for years, and I thought that would be kind of a cool tie-in with me and skateboarding is have the band be called Urethane. It would be something that connected to skateboarding.
I love it. That's a great place to end.
And all the guys in the band have skated.
Yeah. They're all skaters.
And Tim's a surfer. And I've gone skating with Chad a few times and his kids. So
you guys are just going to be, the skate park band. You go skating, go motocrossing, pull up, set up, play. I mean, you're making a video on your skate ramp. I mean, it's perfect. It's a perfect pairing of the two. Well, best of luck. Can't wait to hear the full. Well, I've heard the full record. Can't wait for everybody to hear the full record. Sounds great. Turned out awesome. Can't believe you did it in a year. But
is that crazy?
It's crazy.
You heard what we produced. I mean, I don't even know these guys that well.
Right. Stop saying that, Steve. You're getting to know.
I'm getting to know them. I'm getting to know them, but in the process of being in a band.
Exactly.
Together.
Exactly.
When you hear the record, you're like, "Man, it sounds like you guys have been playing for years." But like I said, it hasn't even been a year yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one, you guys took chances, and so that definitely made things happen quicker. And the fact that you're all working together towards the same goal, that's huge. So
well, we all trust each other, and like I said, it's a relationship. I think one of the hardest relationships to be in is a band,
Yeah.
Let alone just being married to someone and having a relationship as a girlfriend or wife. But being in a band is one of the most difficult relationships I've ever associated with. And keeping that together, with everything that's going on, with the fame that's going to come, with the money that's going to come, with who's in charge of this, who's in charge of that. I mean, there's a lot of eggshells that are going to be walked on until we can all trust each other and just say, hey, this is for the better benefit of all of us in the band, and we're all working together, and let's have fun with it. Let's write some great music. Let's make people smile, and let's give them something worth listening to.
Yeah. Let's keep chasing horizons.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Steve Caballero. Always a pleasure, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. I appreciate your music. I love it. Great songwriter. I listen to Ride all the time.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs. I love the video that you guys produce with that. Just getting to know you and getting to know everybody in the band. It's just been great,
It always makes me smile when you're backstage. Yeah. Love it. All right. We'll talk soon again. Okay. Keep me posted.
Yeah.
All right.
And if there's any ever a spot for Urethane to come on an MXPX show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll make it. Yes, we'll make it happen. All right.
Thank you.
Cool. Peace out.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.